Hashtag Schengen visa rejected over one mistake. The application that looked perfect. He thought everything was finally ready. The passport was valid, the savings account looked healthy, the hotel reservations were confirmed, the travel insurance certificate had been printed, and honestly, Oliver felt confident. Very confident. For nearly a year he had been planning this trip. Europe had always fascinated him. The architecture, the culture, the history, the famous cities, everything seemed exciting. Everything seemed worth the effort. For months he saved money, worked overtime, reduced expenses, postponed purchases. Every sacrifice had one purpose: a dream journey through Europe. And now that dream finally felt close. Very close. Most travelers imagine the difficult part is saving money, or booking flights, or finding accommodation. But experienced travelers know something different. Sometimes the biggest obstacle appears before the journey even begins. A visa application. One document, one decision, one approval, or one rejection. And that single decision can change everything. Oliver understood this. That was why he prepared carefully. Every requirement received attention. Every document was collected. Every instruction was reviewed. Or at least, he believed it was. The Schengen visa checklist seemed straightforward. Passport, photographs, bank statements, travel itinerary, hotel bookings, travel insurance, proof of employment. Everything appeared manageable. Nothing looked complicated. Nothing looked dangerous. And honestly, that confidence became a problem. Because confidence sometimes creates assumptions, and assumptions create mistakes. Most visa rejections do not happen because people are criminals. Most visa rejections do not happen because people are dangerous. Many happen because of small errors, simple oversights, missing information, inconsistent details, things applicants never notice until it is too late. Oliver scheduled his appointment, prepared his documents, organized everything neatly. The application file looked impressive, professional, complete, detailed, exactly what visa officers wanted to see. Or so he thought. The appointment day finally arrived. The visa center looked busy. Applicants filled the waiting area, families, students, business travelers, tourists, everyone hoping for good news, everyone carrying dreams inside document folders. Oliver felt nervous, but optimistic, very optimistic. His number appeared on the screen. He approached the counter. Documents were submitted, biometric information was collected, questions were asked. Everything seemed routine, everything seemed normal. The staff member reviewed the paperwork, page by page, document by document. The process looked smooth, no alarms, no warnings, no concerns. And honestly, that made Oliver feel even more confident. When the appointment ended, he walked outside smiling. The difficult part seemed finished. Now only waiting remained. Most travelers underestimate the emotional pressure of visa waiting periods. Every email notification creates excitement. Every phone alert creates anticipation. Every day feels longer, much longer. Oliver checked his email constantly, morning, afternoon, evening, again and again. Days passed, then another week, then another. The anticipation became exhausting. His family asked for updates. Friends asked for updates. Co-workers asked for updates. Everyone expected approval. Oliver expected approval too. After all, he had done everything correctly. At least, that was what he believed. The real problem started later. One afternoon his phone vibrated. An email arrived. The visa decision was ready. His heart immediately accelerated. This was the moment he had imagined for months. The moment that would determine everything. Europe or no Europe. Dream trip or disappointment. Adventure or cancellation. Everything depended on the next few minutes. Oliver rushed to the visa center, collected the passport envelope, held it carefully. The envelope felt heavier than expected. Not physically, emotionally. Because the future seemed trapped inside. He sat in his car, looked at the envelope, took a deep breath, and opened it. Everything changed in one moment. The visa was rejected. Rejected. One word. One devastating word. Oliver stared at the letter, then read it again, and again. And honestly, he could not believe it. There had to be a mistake. There had to be some misunderstanding. His application looked perfect. His finances were strong. His documents appeared complete. Nothing seemed wrong. Yet the rejection remained real. Very real. The shock felt overwhelming. Most travelers imagine rejection happens to other people, not themselves, especially when they believe they followed every rule. That is what made the situation so painful. Oliver needed answers. Immediately. Why had the visa been denied? What had gone wrong? What mistake had destroyed months of preparation? The rejection notice contained official wording, professional wording, but not enough detail, not enough clarity, not enough explanation, and honestly, that uncertainty felt unbearable. The dream trip suddenly seemed impossible. Flights remained unbooked, hotels remained refundable, but the emotional investment was enormous. Months of planning, months of excitement, months of anticipation, gone, at least temporarily. Oliver began reviewing everything, every document, every form, every page, searching for answers, searching for mistakes, searching for something, anything. Then something shocking happened. A small inconsistency appeared. A detail so small most people would ignore it. A detail that seemed harmless. A detail that looked insignificant. Yet that detail may have changed everything. And honestly, the discovery terrified him. Because if such a small mistake could trigger rejection, how many other travelers were making the same error? How many dreams were being destroyed by tiny details? And how many applicants never discovered the real reason? Oliver's investigation was only beginning. The rejection letter was not the end of the story. It was the beginning. Because what he discovered next revealed one of the most common Schengen visa mistakes travelers make. A mistake capable of turning a perfect application into a rejected application. And unfortunately, many applicants never see it coming. Hashtag Schengen visa rejected over one mistake. The small error that changed everything. Oliver sat at his kitchen table. The rejection letter remained in front of him. The passport rested beside it. Everything felt unreal. Only a few hours earlier, he imagined walking through Paris, exploring Rome, visiting Amsterdam. Now he was trying to understand why the dream had collapsed. Most travelers expect clear explanations after a visa refusal. Reality often feels different. The rejection notice contained official language, formal language, professional language, but not always detailed language. And honestly, that uncertainty can be frustrating, very frustrating. Oliver needed answers, real answers, not assumptions, not guesses, answers. He began reviewing every document again, page by page, line by line, date by date, looking for something unusual, something incorrect, something that could explain everything. Hours passed. Nothing appeared wrong, at least initially. Then something unexpected happened. A friend who worked in international travel agreed to review the application. Fresh eyes, professional experience, different perspective. Sometimes that makes all the difference. The review started normally. Passport, photos, employment letter, insurance certificate. Everything appeared fine. Then the friend paused, only briefly, but long enough to notice something. The travel itinerary, specifically, the dates. At first glance, everything looked correct. Hotel bookings existed, flight reservations existed, travel insurance existed. But when the documents were compared together, a small inconsistency appeared. A very small inconsistency. One hotel reservation started on a different date than the itinerary. Only one day. One single day. Nothing dramatic, nothing intentional, nothing fraudulent, just a mistake. A simple mistake. Most people would ignore it. Most travelers would never notice it. Yet visa officers review applications differently. They look for consistency. Consistency creates confidence. Inconsistency creates questions. Questions create doubt. And doubt can create rejection. Oliver felt shocked. Could one day really matter? Could one date really matter? The answer was uncomfortable. Yes, sometimes it can. Because visa officers do not only review documents, they assess credibility, planning, reliability, the overall picture. And every document contributes to that picture. The real problem started later, because the date inconsistency was not the only issue. Another concern appeared, this time involving financial documents. Most travelers focus on account balances. They believe money alone guarantees approval. Unfortunately, visa assessments are more complicated than that. Oliver's bank balance looked healthy, very healthy. Enough funds existed, more than enough. But the transaction history raised questions. Large deposits appeared shortly before the application. several significant deposits, unusual deposits, deposits without obvious explanation. To Oliver, they seemed normal: family support, savings transfers, routine financial activity. To a visa officer, they might appear differently, because officers often evaluate stability, not just balance. A sudden increase in funds sometimes creates uncertainty. Where did the money come from? How long has it been available? Is it genuinely available for travel? These questions matter, more than many applicants realize. Most travelers never understand this. Visa officers examine patterns, not just numbers. A large balance helps, but a stable financial history often helps more. That realization surprised Oliver, because nobody explained it clearly before. Most travel forums focus on minimum amounts, not financial consistency. That difference matters enormously. Then came another discovery: the travel insurance certificate. At first, everything looked acceptable. Coverage existed. The policy appeared valid. The required amount seemed correct. Yet one detail created concern: the coverage dates. The insurance started later than the intended travel period. Only slightly later. Only a small gap, but a gap nonetheless. Again, a small detail. Again, an inconsistency. Again, something many applicants might never notice. And honestly, Oliver felt sick. One small error might be understandable. Several small errors create a different picture, a more concerning picture. Most visa refusals are not caused by one dramatic mistake. Many result from multiple small concerns. Small concerns accumulate. Small concerns create doubt, and doubt changes decisions. That reality terrified Oliver, because every problem seemed preventable. Every problem seemed avoidable. Every problem seemed small. Yet together they created serious consequences. The emotional impact became overwhelming. Months of preparation, months of research, months of anticipation, destroyed by details. Tiny details. Details nobody warned him about, at least not clearly. Most travelers assume honesty alone guarantees success. Honesty is essential, absolutely essential, but accuracy matters too. Consistency matters too. Preparation matters too. Everything works together. That is the reality of visa applications. Oliver continued researching, and the more he learned, the more surprising information appeared. Thousands of applicants experience similar situations every year: missing documents, incorrect dates, weak financial evidence, incomplete travel plans, insurance problems, hotel booking issues, different mistakes, same outcome: rejection. One story especially caught his attention. A traveler had sufficient funds, strong employment, excellent travel history. Yet the visa was refused because accommodation details created confusion. Another traveler submitted valid insurance, but coverage dates did not fully match travel plans. Another applicant used hotel reservations that were later canceled. The application appeared less reliable. Different situations, same lesson: details matter. Every detail matters. Oliver eventually contacted a visa consultant, not to blame someone, not to complain, to understand. The consultant reviewed everything carefully, then delivered an important explanation. Visa officers evaluate risk, not dreams, not emotions. Risk. Will the traveler follow visa conditions? Will the traveler return home? Are the documents reliable? Do the details match? Does the application make sense? Those questions guide decisions. And honestly, that explanation changed Oliver's perspective. The process felt less personal, less emotional, more procedural, more systematic. Yet the disappointment remained. The rejection still hurt. The lost opportunity still hurt. The uncertainty still hurt. Most travelers underestimate emotional costs. A visa refusal is not only administrative, it can feel deeply personal, especially after months of effort, especially when expectations are high, especially when dreams are involved. Oliver faced another reality too: financial consequences. Application fees were gone. Document preparation costs were gone. Translation costs were gone. Appointment costs were gone. Everything had been spent already. And now a second application might become necessary. More costs, more waiting, more uncertainty. The pressure continued growing. Yet something important happened. Instead of giving up, Oliver decided to learn. really learn every requirement, every guideline, every common mistake, because honestly, he never wanted to experience another rejection. And what he discovered next would completely change the way he approached visa applications. Because the biggest lesson was not about documents, it was about preparation. Preparation most applicants never do. Preparation that can dramatically improve approval chances. Preparation that separates strong applications from weak ones. And honestly, that lesson may be the most valuable part of this entire story. #Schengen visa rejected over one mistake. The second application. Oliver refused to quit. The rejection hurt. The disappointment felt enormous. But he was not ready to abandon his dream. Not after investing months of effort. Not after sacrificing money. Not after planning every detail of the journey. And honestly, he needed answers. Real answers. Not assumptions. Not guesses. Answers. The first rejection had taught him something important. A visa application is not simply a collection of documents. It is a story. A complete story. A story told through paperwork. Every document must support that story. Every date must match. Every detail must make sense. And every inconsistency creates doubt. That realization changed everything. Most travelers focus on collecting documents. Smart travelers focus on building a consistent application. There is a difference. A huge difference. Oliver began again, this time more carefully, much more carefully. Every document received attention. Every date was checked repeatedly. Every reservation was reviewed. Every financial record was examined. Nothing would be left to chance. Nothing. The travel itinerary became the first priority. Hotel bookings, transportation plans, arrival dates, departure dates. Everything had to match perfectly. No inconsistencies, no confusion. No questions. The entire application needed to tell one clear story. And honestly, that process took time. A lot of time. More time than Oliver expected. But now he understood why. Because preparation matters. Especially for international travel. Especially for visa applications. The financial documents came next. This time Oliver wanted complete clarity. No unusual deposits. No unexplained transactions. No confusing activity. The account history needed to demonstrate stability, consistency, reliability, everything visa officers like to see. Most applicants underestimate this. They focus on account balances, but financial patterns matter too. A stable financial history often creates stronger confidence. That lesson became extremely valuable. Oliver also updated his travel insurance. Coverage dates matched exactly. Coverage requirements matched exactly. Every detail aligned with travel plans. No gaps, no inconsistencies, no surprises. Most travelers never realize insurance documents are closely reviewed, yet they often are, especially when travel dates are involved. The second application slowly took shape, and honestly, it looked much stronger than the first. Not because Oliver had more money, not because Oliver had better employment, because the details finally worked together. That difference matters enormously. Many travelers assume approvals depend entirely on income, or entirely on nationality, or entirely on luck. Reality is usually more complicated. Strong applications reduce uncertainty. Weak applications create questions. Questions create doubt. And doubt changes outcomes. The second appointment eventually arrived. The visa center looked familiar. The waiting area looked familiar. Even the nervousness felt familiar. But this time something was different. Confidence. Not blind confidence, prepared confidence. The kind created by effort. The kind created by understanding. The kind created by preparation. Oliver submitted the new application. The process felt smoother, calmer, more organized. Everything seemed stronger. Everything seemed more complete. Then came the waiting period again. The longest part. The most stressful part. The most emotional part. Waiting. Most travelers understand this feeling. Every notification creates hope. Every email creates anticipation. Every day feels longer, especially after a previous rejection, because now fear exists, real fear. Fear of disappointment, fear of another refusal, fear of another setback. Oliver checked his email constantly, again and again and again. The anticipation became exhausting, but this time, something felt different. The application felt stronger, more complete, more professional, more convincing. The waiting continued. Days passed, then another week, then another. Finally, The email arrived. The decision was ready. His heart immediately accelerated. Just like before, the same anticipation, the same anxiety, the same uncertainty. Everything returned instantly. He traveled to the visa center, collected the passport envelope, held it carefully. The moment felt familiar, too familiar, and honestly, that frightened him. The first envelope contained disappointment. Would this one do the same? He sat quietly, opened the envelope, and looked inside. The visa was approved. Approved. One word. One life-changing word. Oliver stared at the page, then looked again, then smiled. A genuine smile. A relieved smile. Months of effort, months of uncertainty, months of preparation, finally rewarded. The dream survived. Europe was possible again. Everything changed. Most travelers focus on approval, but the real lesson lies elsewhere. The real lesson is preparation. Because the second application succeeded for a reason. The details matched. The story made sense. The evidence felt consistent. Everything worked together. That is the difference between many successful applications and many unsuccessful applications. Consistency, not perfection. Consistency. Most travelers ask, how much money do I need? The better question is, does my application make sense? That question matters more than many people realize. Imagine two applicants. Both have money. Both have jobs. Both have travel plans. One application feels organized. The other feels inconsistent. Which application creates confidence? Which application creates doubt? The answer is obvious. And honestly, that is exactly how many visa decisions work. The strongest applications remove uncertainty. They answer questions before questions appear. They demonstrate preparation. They demonstrate reliability. They demonstrate planning. Everything works together. Oliver's experience taught him several lessons every traveler should understand. First, never rush a visa application. Rushed applications create mistakes. Mistakes create problems. Problems create delays, or worse. Second, review every document multiple times. Dates matter, names matter, addresses matter, everything matters. Third, make sure every document supports the same story. A travel itinerary should match hotel reservations. Insurance should match travel dates. Financial records should support travel plans. Everything should connect logically. Fourth, never assume small mistakes are harmless. Sometimes small mistakes create big consequences, especially in immigration processes. Fifth, understand that visa officers evaluate credibility, not just paperwork, credibility. That distinction matters enormously. Most travelers never hear these lessons, at least not until something goes wrong. That is why awareness matters. That is why preparation matters. And that is why stories like this deserve attention. Because one small mistake can delay dreams. One small mistake can waste money. One small mistake can create enormous stress. Yet one correction can change everything. Today, Oliver travels differently. More organized, more prepared, more aware. Because experience taught him something valuable. Preparation is not optional. Preparation is protection. And protection begins long before the flight. Long before the airport. Long before immigration. It begins during planning. Before documents are submitted. Before applications are filed. Before decisions are made. That is where success begins. Before your next Schengen visa application, ask yourself one important question. If a visa officer reviewed every page of my application today, would every detail support the same story? Because that answer may determine whether your journey begins or remains only a dream. Schengen Visa Safety Checklist. Verify passport validity. Review every application form carefully. Ensure all travel dates match. Ensure hotel bookings match itinerary. Ensure insurance dates match travel dates. Provide stable financial evidence. Avoid unexplained financial activity. Review all supporting documents. Double-check names and addresses. Submit a clear and consistent application. Because preparation creates confidence, and confidence creates stronger applications. Disclaimer: this story is presented for educational and travel awareness purposes only. Schengen visa requirements, approval standards, documentation requirements, and immigration procedures vary by country, embassy, and individual circumstances. Travelers should always verify requirements through official government and embassy sources before applying. Subscribe to Global Policy Guide for travel safety, visa updates, insurance awareness, immigration guidance, airport realities, and real travel risk stories from around the world.